welcome from a very cold Melbourne morning. Now, these days we're into the last week of the Easter season because the Sunday coming up is Pentecost Sunday, the gift of the Spirit and the launching of the church. And for this week we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday Gospels for the Mass are the three sections of Jesus' priestly prayer. Priestly because of linking God and creation, God and humanity, God and the world. Priestly, chapter 17 of John's Gospel. And it's after the long discourse Jesus gave to his disciples, having washed their feet at the Last Supper. And it's before going out with the disciples to the Garden of Gethsemane and crunch time. And this prayer has three sections. First one is Jesus prays for himself and his mission. And secondly, he prays for his disciples and those who might come to believe in him. And finally, he prays for the world. It's a beautiful prayer, and it's a prayer in a real crisis time in Jesus' life. And I was wondering, how did John the Evangelist get this material? Because there was no one there recording what Jesus said. Furthermore, if he prayed, he probably prayed in silence. And I imagine John got together many of the traditions, many of the oral tradition, the things people would have talked about, what Jesus might have said and felt, etc., between the Last Supper and Gethsemane. And I think that's what John has done. And what I wanted to do today is just share briefly a couple of the initial statements in that prayer. And the first thing Jesus says is Father, which we know is really Abba, which in English, of course, is Dad, Daddy, Pa, Pop, whatever captures the relationship of a grateful child to a loving father. And that's the relationship that Jesus expresses right at the beginning of this prayer. He says Abba. He says Dad. And the next thing he says is, the hour has come. This famous hour that Jesus has spoken about quite a bit in the Gospel. And I think one of the first times it's mentioned is in the marriage feast of Cana, when Mary, the mother, notices that the groom is about to enter into crisis because there is no wine. And it's his responsibility to proportion the wine. And so she says to Jesus, she says, hey, they have no wine. And Jesus, a 30-year-old son, reacts a bit to mum and says, what's that got to do with me? My hour hasn't come yet. In other words, Jesus was not aware that it was time to launch himself, to reveal himself, and to begin his mission of inaugurating the kingdom of God, the kingdom of his Father. And the hour had not yet come, he thought. Mary knew a little better. She read the signs of the times, and so she told the attendants, hey, do what he tells you. They did, and he did. And so in this prayer, he says to the Father, the hour has come. Now is crunch time. Now is the time to bring together all these teachings, these healings, these forgiveness, these bringing together all the rest of the people and so on that have been part of his mission, because the hour has come. Now everything will be laid bare everything will be on the table, and, as we know, good will win, eventually over bad. The hour has come. And then he says a strange thing to me. He says, Father, glorify your Son, so that your Son might glorify you. And I was trying to work out what this might mean. And what I offer is not a theological answer. It's not dogma. But what is the way I saw it? Jesus said, Father, love your Son as a human being, as Jesus of Nazareth. Love your Son. Care for him. Accompany him. Be with him. Love him. So that your Son might glorify you, or might love you as the one true God. And so again, expressing that beautiful relationship between Father and Son. A loving Father and the beloved Son. And Jesus says that when he says that the Son that I might glorify you, because you have glorified me, is just as you love me, may I also love you. And you love me as Jesus of Nazareth, as this human being who has come to crunch time. Jesus had read the signs of the times, he listened to the Spirit, and he knew that it was time to really bring this mission to conclusion. And so that's what I want to say today. Like for us, we have hours in our life too. The hour can come, time for decision, time to move, time to act. Don't forget to pray to the Father, the loving Father, our Dad in heaven. Pray to him with total confidence that he might love us just as he loved his Son. Okay? So it's a beautiful prayer. If you get a chance to read chapter 17 of John, it's rich. It's very beautiful. Okay? God bless you. Have a great week. And with a bit of luck, we'll see you next week. Bye now.